Please welcome Geraldo Rivera.
21 minutes after the hour. I'm going to get to your calls momentarily. First, special guest. We welcome a person who must be a proud dad today. He's not only a doctor, but a longtime former congressman and maybe in context, more importantly, the godfather of the modern American libertarian movement. We welcome Dr. Ron Paul. Hey, how you doing, Doc?
Good, Geraldo. Nice to be with you.
So, what do you think about Senator Rand Paul's filibuster, his performance, what he accomplished, and all the rest of that?
Well, I think that's all fantastic, but I couldn't help but think about the physical stress of such a job. And I've kidded. I said, I probably couldn't have lasted past 12 hours. But that is unbelievable to physically be able to stand up there and
make sense.
And that's it. Remain rational about it. But to me, the most important thing was that there's so many things I've tried over the years is to get information out, and you're in the business of getting information out. But I think information is so important, and sometimes it was hard. But I think, can you imagine how many millions of people now are aware that this administration and our government, per se, has been challenging, us and our civil liberties. So I think that is the most important thing that has happened with that filibuster.
Granted that, and we'll talk much more about that because it is what is important. But you, as a dad, you must have been proud of your son.
Yeah, it makes you feel real good that. I feel proud of all the kids, but I felt very proud when he went to medical school, and became a eye surgeon. So it's a continuation, but because he's doing something, has achieved something that he's actually reaching more people than I ever did in one day. So I would say that he's doing very, very well, and it certainly would be a discouragement if he were reaching people with different viewpoints than mine. So yes, it makes me feel very good.
And he may, now to the grander issue, the big picture, he may have started a process whereby the use of drones, which will be the future of warfare, they already are, will be more regulated, or will at least have some checks and balances that were not there up until his filibuster. So he has achieved something, or started a process that will achieve something very significant.
Yeah, it's very dangerous when you think about it in international warfare. It's so tempting to do more things than that we should. You still build enemies when you inadvertently kill the wrong people, but it's more sterile, so our government's more likely to do more. So I see that as a great danger. The same way here at home, they say there will always be a good reason. Well, there's a very, very bad guy out there, or there's a lost child, and therefore we have to allow governments to use drones continuously and not worry about going to judges and get permission, these sort of things. Very, very tricky. And I think this is the way almost everything is in technology. I think that nuclear power happens to be a good source of energy, but just think of the terrible harm that was done at the beginning, dropping nuclear weapons on entire cities and killing hundreds of thousands of civilians. So most things have a mixed, a mixed opinion about, because it can be used for good, it can be used for evil, and I think the drones are in this sort. I think there probably will be technologically very good uses of drones. I just don't like to see the government have license to use them any time, but I could see where a rancher should have drones. He's worrying about his cattle. Taking a camera and flying it over there seems to be logical, but for governments to do this continuously, say it's surveillance, which they shouldn't do without Fourth Amendment protection, and they certainly shouldn't arm these things and take lives out without due process. So
there's certainly
very, very
process.
dangerous.
There certainly should be process, and I think that again, my guest, former Congressman Ron Paul, whose son, Senator Rand Paul, now famously conducted that 13-hour filibuster that I think began the process whereby drones in the 21st century will have the same kind of checks and balances as the nuclear weapons, for example, that the congressman just alluded to. You wrote how the future is dismal for the GOP, the Republican Party. You really believe that?
Well, I'm trying to urge them to do the right things. If they do the right things, it does not have to be dismal. But if they continue to do the wrong things, right now you can see the division just over the drone issue. Some Republicans came strongly condemning what he was doing. So, yeah, see, if they stay in charge, the ones to mock, this concern that we have for privacy, yes, it's dismal. But if they do what you suggest, that this is the beginning of an enlightenment, that we come to our senses and we pass good legislation, yes, it does not have to be dismal.
Do you think that Senator John McCain was really disrespecting your son?
Well, I think he did himself harm because it wasn't. I didn't like the fact that because it was personal, the criticism. But I don't think politically was a very wise thing to do. But it helps our side of the argument that when people panic like that and they're over the top and condemn somebody who's trying to protect the liberties of individuals, I think they lose and they don't do that much harm to us who are trying to protect privacy.
So you think that Lindsey Graham and John McCain panicked?
I think they were over the top on their criticism, and I'll bet you they're having some second thoughts now because they're on the short end of this, and they have different opinions, but they also don't like to be challenged because they are the spokesman, for the Republican Party. I mean, those two individuals have had more top interviews on Sunday morning than everybody else probably put together.
They certainly have. I got only a minute left, but I have to ask you what you think because of your libertarian views and because you want full disclosure from government. What do you think of Private Manning, Bradley Manning, the guy who leaked those tens of thousands of documents to WikiLeaks and now has pled guilty and is still on trial for treason? Are you for him or against him?
It's tough because he knows that he was practicing civil disobedience. No, I admire him for doing it. I believe him when he says that he wanted to expose the truth. I think Daniel Ellsberg, even though he in the 1960s or 70s looked like a very, very bad guy, he's more or less a hero now because he's told us the truth about Vietnam. Bradley Manning, I think, is going to go down in history as sending us a strong message. I hope we have enough sense to quit torturing him. He was tortured. He didn't have a quick trial. And
I have to leave you there, Congressman, but thank you so much for coming on. Congressman Ron Paul, we'll be right back.